Greetings, rivals. Brucey Goosey here, and today I'm doing another deck profile. This one on Centiskorch VMAX, and this one's a heavy hitter. This is my deck of choice if I was to sit down and play against someone in a competition. So 320 HP, that is a big number. It is very hard to one-shot, and to my knowledge, unless you have weakness, the only other deck that can hit that number very easily would be a mirror match. Turn this VMAX can't even hit this. So for our attack, for 2 colorless energy, we will do 40 damage, plus every fire energy attached to this Pokemon will do an additional 40 damage, and since it's a fire deck, we're using Welder. Those numbers will add up very quickly. So, starting off, 3 copies of Centiskorch VMAX, and 3 copies of Centiskorch V. Centiskorch V has an attack radiating heat. You will discard an energy from yourself after dealing 20 damage, and if you choose to do that, you can discard an energy from your opponent, thereby helping disrupt them a little. Maybe not the best thing, but hey, in a pinch, it does work. But if you have 4 energy on it, 4 fire energy, you can use Burning Train and do 180 damage. But really, we're trying to get ourselves powered up into the VMAX so we can use Gmax Centinferno. Moving on from that, in order to get that out, this deck most certainly wants to go second, because we want to attack first using Volcanion, which for 1 fire energy can use Flare Starter. You'll search your deck for fire energy and attach it to one of your Pokemon. But if you're going second on turn 1, you can search out 3 fire energy and attach them to your Pokemon. My ideal bench when I do this is to have 2 Centiskorch here, this spot and this spot, and then I'll accelerate the energy out of the deck, and I usually go 2 and 1. But if you have to, putting all 3 on 1, that's okay. I like to play it a little safer because there's very easy ways to gust up that Centiskorch and just knock it out. And for a backup attacker, I play 1 copy of Heatran GX, mainly for the Hot Burn GX, which will do 50 times the amount of fire energy attached to this Pokemon. And using its ability Burning Road, you can switch it into the active. After retreating your active or playing a switch card, most likely a switch card, and you can then move any amount of fire energy from all of your Pokemon onto the Heatran GX, thereby letting you hit those high numbers. Really, once you have 7, that's all you need, because that's 350 damage, and that knocks out a turn as VMAX with 1 shot. Moving on, the next 4 Pokemon, the last 4, I like to call them my basic engine I use for most of my decks. 2 copies of the Dedenne GX for Dedenne Change. Discard your hand, draw 6 cards. In addition to that, I use Eldegoss V for when you discard your supporter you need, or if you need to reuse it. Mainly it's for boss's orders. If you start this card or the previous 2 or the next card, they are useless though, and that's the only downside. And the final card, if you haven't already guessed it, is a single Crobat V for Dark Asset. You will draw up until you have 6 cards in your hand from your deck. Very useful, these cards. I recommend getting yourselves at least a similar number if you don't already have them. If not, I'm sure you can Google Pokemon singles, buy Pokemon singles, and the top 2 websites will come up. I highly recommend it. It's much better than ripping through packs hoping you're going to get them. Moving on to the trainer cards, we'll start out with supporters. Since this is a fire deck, of course, we are playing 4 copies of Welder. Welder is a broken card. When there's a broken card, always play 4 copies of it. Welder lets you attach 2 fire energy from your hand to one of your Pokemon, and then you draw 3 cards. It is an amazing ability. So in 1 turn, you can get 3 energy out there if everything goes according to plan. You do that turn 1. You're going to attach onto your Volcanion. In an ideal world, he's already out there. Then you will use Welder onto one of your Centiskorch V, getting 2 cards there, and then you will use Volcanion's attack, accelerating 3 fire energy from deck onto the other Centiskorch if it's already out. If not, you're going to have 5 energy on that Centiskorch V that's sitting here. And wow, will it be ready to go next turn when you just go ahead and place the Centiskorch VMAX on it and play the switch. Wow, the game is yours. Your opponent might as well scoop at that point. In addition, though, we play 3 copies Professor's Research just to help dig through the deck a little faster. Discard your hand, draw 7 cards. Hopefully, you don't have to discard too much, but thankfully, since this copy plays multiple copies of every card almost, You don't have to worry about discarding something, and in case you have to and you end up discarding Boss's Orders, that's what the Eldegoss here is for, to help bail you out and get one of those back, or the Welder. Boss's Orders, you're going to switch your opponent's active Pokemon with one of their bench Pokemon, and that's how you will take your knockouts, hopefully for the game-winning moment, and then you'll have a nice victory, hurrah, and your opponent will be disappointed. Moving on to item cards, though, we will use 4 copies of Quick Ball. I don't know what deck isn't doing that right now, so you could expect to see that in this deck. Discard a card from your hand and search for a basic Pokemon. All these Pokemon are basic except for Centiskorch, so it will be key in setting up. But to help find Centiskorch if you don't already have them, 3 copies of Pokemon Communication. You're going to reveal a Pokemon from your hand, put it on the top of your deck, and search for the Pokemon you want, and then shuffle your deck after. Also, since you'll be discarding cards, I play 4 copies of Turbo Patch. This allows you to flip a coin, and if it's heads, you will take a energy card from your discard pile and attach it to one of your basic Pokemon that isn't a GX Pokemon. So you can't put it on Centiskorch VMAX, so don't make the mistake of evolving and then playing the card. Have seen that done a couple times. I've done it myself. It's a really horrible situation. But that's what it's for, to help accelerate the energy. If not turn 1, you can get it on that second one. Turn 2, 3, 4, and moving on. To help get your Volcanion out of the way, or to move that Heatran up, or just to get a damaged Centiskorch out to put up the next one, 4 copies of Switch. Very important card. Everyone's playing it. You should too. 4 copies is key, in case you end up discarding it, because when you don't have the Switch when you need it, it feels really bad, and you don't want to have to retreat your Pokemon and miss out on those energy you could be potentially putting on Heatran. For when you don't have energy in hand and you have Welder, I like to play 1 copy of Fire Crystal. You take 3 Fire Energy cards from your discard pile and put it into your hand, and then hopefully you can just Welder them right on. Professor Aaron is a big fan of this card, and I am becoming one also. Tool Scrapper. You will choose 2 tool cards attached to Pokemon, either yours or your opponent's, and they will get discarded into that spot right there, or your opponent's. Because you don't want to steal their cards. You're not Team Rocket after all. It's very helpful when you need to take a cape off someone, or if you want to get rid of their pivot. You know, they have the balloon on someone, and you know you're going to take a knockout, and they're just going to promote that. You want to make your opponent work a little bit. And to help aid in disruption, our only real card we have is a Reset Stamp. It's better late game, but if you see your opponent is, you know, they're playing a greens build or something and they bring the cards in their hand they want at the end of the turn, you know they're still in their hand, you don't want them having them, so just play the Reset Stamp if you have it. And our only item card we play in this deck, 1 copy of Air Balloon. This will reduce the retreat cost of whatever Pokemon it's attached to by 2, giving everyone in this deck free retreat almost. I think Heatran has 3. Yes, Heatran does have 3, and double check. Centiskorch does also have 3, but we're not worried about retreating those 2. It's more about retreating Volcanion off of the active and getting out whoever you need. For stadiums, I play 2 copies of Giant Hearth. Discard a card from your hand and search for 2 Fire Energy cards from your deck. This is great with thinning out your hand in case you get Marnied or something, or a Reset Stamp's going to come your way. It's just to get rid of what you know you're not going to need. Pretty much after the first turn, I doubt you're going to need Volcanion unless you're going to be up against someone like, what's his name, Zamazenta. That's the only time you'll really need him. And you also have Heatran to help aid in that, because Zamazenta has the ability that prevents VMAX Pokemon from attacking it. But Centiskorch will also help in other areas, such as if you go up against Decidueye or Altaria, that have those abilities that prevent damage from GX and V Pokemon. And our last stadium card is Wondrous Labyrinth. I'm a big fan of this card, especially in this deck, because all non-fairy Pokemon have an additional colorless added onto their attack cost. This is great in disrupting the Eternus players. Don't play it turn 1 when you're about to use Volcanion. You're going to forget unless you welded both energies onto it, which would be a waste if you don't already have Centiskorch, the welder onto. But I have seen it done, and I have done it myself on accident. And to round out the deck, we play 4 8, 12 copies of basic fire energy, high energy count. You're going to need a lot of energy. It's okay to discard them because you will be putting them right back on naturally. And in addition to that, I like to play 2 copies of heat energy. Whatever fire Pokemon this is attached to gets an extra 20 HP added on. It's just to help with the numbers a little bit, make your opponents work. And it can also be moved around onto Heatran when he goes to the active if it's not already on him. And just a little bonus. Right now, I think this deck is definitely top tier. It should definitely be on everyone's top 3 list, whether how they feel. Quite simply because this deck can hit numbers such as 340 no problem, turn 2 if not 3, and they're most certainly able to 2-shot anyone very easily. Has a great Eternus matchup. It's great against ADP as long as you set up. It does struggle against Inteleon a little, but that's because of the type disadvantage. But if you can get set up and just keep taking those knockouts, you're good. The Pikarom matchup, same thing, it's good. You play the switches from when they paralyze you, really, with Choo-Choo. And other than that, it really doesn't have any hard matchups unless someone comes at you with Wailord, which most likely won't happen, but it can happen. Could happen. But yes, this is definitely one of my favorite decks. As for changes, I really don't think there's anything I would change as of right now. Victini V might be something you want to consider. I don't personally like it because not too many decks play high amount of energy on one Pokemon, except for this one, really. So it won't be taking too many knockouts unless you accelerate the energy yourself onto Victini, which is kind of dangerous in my opinion. Other than that, I'm really happy with my supporter count. I have my basic 4. And yeah, if anything, I would swap out the turbo patches for what's called crushing hammers, but I rather make sure I have the energy for myself to keep attacking instead of worrying about my opponent just knocking off 1 or 2 energy a turn, especially since I have Welder and I can easily just get back into it, and I naturally accelerate energy onto myself with Centiskorch VMAX. So try it out, let me know what you think. Tell me in the comments section down below. I'm trying to point and it's hard to get that weird angle, but alright, well, leave a thumbs up and like this video. If you like the channel, do give us a subscribe. Look us up on Instagram and Facebook. On Facebook, typically you will see us posting memes, maybe the stray, card announcement. Sometimes we'll talk about random things such as deck advice or how we feel about a certain card. Maybe even a Pokemon meme will pop up. And in addition to that, you can also look us up on Instagram where I do single card pack openings. Get yourself a chance to get the code card if you see it first. Other than that, this is Brucey Goosey. It's been a joy, and I'll see you guys next time.